Battlefield 6 released its PC trailer today, and we got a good look at a lot of the maps that we really haven't seen too much from the beta or from marketing. And I'm going to break down a bit of what we saw today, especially with the conversation in the community right now around Battlefield's identity. Is it trying to appeal too much to Call of Duty? That seems to be the perpetual conversation around Battlefield every time a new one comes out. So we're going to go over some of those things today. So let's just go right into the first one, and that's going to be Mirach Valley. Everything I've seen from this map has been something that gets me excited, even though it's a massive vehicle-focused map that typically, especially after 2042 PTSD, I don't find to always be the most enjoyable. This one just has a vibe about it that I'm really excited to get my hands on it. We've got trenches that are supposed to be fairly prominent through the map, but also show up in some of the images. It looks cinematic. I mean, there's a shot in here of one of the tanks just rolling through smoke and fire and destroyed trees. And I know it's supposed to be set in, I think it's Tajikistan or Uzbekistan, which anytime a Battlefield game has an obscure Central Asian country as a setting, that game is going to be a banger. Think, Caspian border, just saying. Between that, some of the vertical areas where infantry are supposed to fight, and then just the areas of vehicle playground that seem to flow around everywhere else, it just looks like it is going to be a gorgeous map to play on. It does also seem aesthetically, whether this is intentional or not, it does remind me a lot of images out of the Ukraine conflict going on right now. Again, I don't know if that's intentional or not. If it is, then it's hard to say that's a good decision about a conflict currently going on. But if you're trying to sell me on an immersive, realistic feeling modern conflict, they nailed that on this map in particular. In terms of size, this one is supposed to be, according to leaks and rumors, so take this with a grain of salt, it's supposed to be compared to Hamada from Battlefield 5 or Golan Railway from Battlefield 4. Although given the trenches and the way it seems to be laid out, and this from a distance, I'm not in Battlefield Labs, haven't played the map, I haven't seen anything about it aside from what's in the marketing. It reminds me a good bit of something like Panzerstorm from Battlefield 5. It may be bigger than Panzerstorm, but the actual layout reminds me a lot of that map. And that was a map I actually, for a large open vehicle map as an infantry player, I actually found a good bit of enjoyment on Panzerstorm. Also towards the end of the PC trailer, and I'm not 100% sure this was on Mirach Valley, it might have been on New Sobek City, but one of the construction cranes can crash down into a building and cause a ton of destruction. I don't know if this is Levolution and this is scripted, like something you can trigger, but it's scripted to be the same way every time, or if it's something dynamic and you can destroy it in a multitude of ways. But that looks incredible if we can pull that off in multiplayer matches. I'm very excited to try out that type of destruction. Next up is Saints Quarter. This is our other Gibraltar map with Iberian Offensive, which I really liked Iberian Offensive in the beta. Some people didn't like it. I thought it was a great kind of classic feeling Battlefield map. It had a good flow. I understood the complaints about the sea point, but everything around that seemed to flow very, very well. Big variety in terms of the experiences you can have despite it being somewhat on the medium to small side. Very fun map. I enjoyed that one a lot. If Saints Quarter is anything like that in terms of fun factor, I'm here for it. But size-wise, we know it's not going to be the same because it is a tight infantry-only map. There's no vehicles or anything, and it looks very vibrant, very close quarters. I'm not sure that I would really compare it, again, off the glimpses in this trailer. Very quick, short glimpses. I wouldn't really compare it to a Metro or an Operation Underground or anything like that. It reminds me a lot more of, if you remember Provence in Battlefield 5 at the very end of the life cycle. It had a little urban area. That reminds me more of Saints Quarter than any of the other kind of historic infantry-only maps in Battlefield. It could be a lot of fun and an interesting new meat grinder for us to get our hands on. Next on the list is New Sobek City. This one is all about verticality, it seems. It will have helicopters and tanks, so it is going to be pretty decently sized, and it is going to have that combined arms type of feel. This one is also set in the outskirts of Cairo, so this is our second Cairo map. So think of how Iberian Offensive and Saints Quarter are our Gibraltar maps. Siege of Cairo and New Sobek City are going to be our Cairo maps, which is nice. There's kind of a theme and a tie between the different maps and give you different experiences and different settings. I do kind of like that. Now, there's a glimpse in the trailer that seems to show a pretty decent scale to this map, but a lot of it seems to do with at least from what I could tell, it looks like it's pretty open unless you're going into the buildings, and then it's going to be this almost room-to-room urban combat, which could be fun. It could also be miserable. I'm optimistic, but I'm also realistic. So we'll have to see if you can destroy the buildings, bring them down. It could get pretty flat by the end of the round. I don't think you're going to be able to totally destroy all the buildings. I'm sure some of them will still be standing a little bit, but I can imagine that could end up pretty rough if there's not enough cover by the end of the round. Again, I'm excited to get my hands on all these maps. I'm glad to see varieties in terms of scale and style and theming, whether it's verticality or more openness or more gritty versus kind of sand duney. Just gives you a few different flavors, right? A few different flavors. We also get a quick look at Operation Firestorm, which I don't really need to go over that one because we know Operation Firestorm, right? We all know it. Big, beautiful vehicle map, one of the classics in the franchise, fighting over an oil refinery. It's going to be fire and explosives. And on the new iteration of the Frostbite engine, it just looks more beautiful than it has ever looked before. So very excited to get back on Operation Firestorm. Big combined arms experience. It's like a juicy steak. I'm just ready to dig into it. We also get a very tiny glimpse of Manhattan Bridge. Hopefully it's better than Empire State, which I didn't think Empire State was as bad as a lot of people were making it out to be, but it still also was probably one of the worst maps in the beta. Now, again, we haven't seen really any of Empire State aside from a couple of glimpses that look like they're on the very outskirts of the map. So this whole idea that we saw in the reveal trailer, or it might have been the gameplay trailer, of a helicopter flying down the streets, that's supposed to be what it's like. That's supposed to be Empire State, but how's it going to actually play? Is the map even that ready? I'm not so sure. Hopefully it is. It sounds in concept like it could be really fun and really cool and really unique, but we're gonna have to get our hands on it to actually see if that actually works out and plays well, because there's plenty of ideas, particularly in the Battlefield franchise, that sound great on paper and really don't work in execution. I'm looking at you, 128 players. So all in all, I wasn't super worried following the beta that all the maps in BF6 were going to be super mega tiny infantry only focused Call of Duty maps. Obviously in the beta we had vehicles on the maps, and even one of them had all three elements of vehicles, or well, not all three elements. We didn't have naval, but we had air, ground, and infantry all fighting together. And aside from adding naval, that's kind of what you want to ask for from Battlefield. Now, balancing and whatnot, that's a topic for a different video, particularly between classes and vehicles. Hint, hint. Honestly, looking at the full breadth of maps that seem to be coming, aside from Saints Quarter, they all seem to be at least medium to large sized. I don't know about you, but something like Siege of Cairo, I don't even consider that small, because it reminds me a lot of Amiens from BF1. I wouldn't necessarily consider that a small map. It certainly wasn't a massive map, but it was kind of between medium and small, right? It wasn't as big as St. Quentin Scar. At least, I don't know, maybe it is. I'd have to check the actual scaling, but it didn't feel as big as something as St. Quentin Scar. A lot of people are getting caught up in the fact that the tight alleyways can make it feel smaller than the map actually is. And I think that was the case in a lot of the beta maps. Some of the areas felt a bit more claustrophobic, and maybe in terms of scale that they really were. And particularly following up a game like 2042 where every map was a massive open desert, anything smaller than that is just going to feel crazy. That said, I'm not overly concerned about the maps in relation to the identity of what Battlefield is. It seems we have a good slice of everything coming at the launch of the game, and I'm curious what they're going to add with the live service following launch. We're in a much better spot than we were the last time around, and one could even argue a much better spot than we were when Battlefield 5 released. Not necessarily in terms of map count, but map quality, in my opinion, is pretty good. Pretty good. Not perfect, not amazing, and we'll have to try all the maps that we haven't tried yet. But between the beta and what we've seen from the maps and the marketing and what we can kind of analyze, I'm pretty happy with what we are going to be getting at launch. And again, that doesn't mean everything's perfect, and we're going to talk about things such as, well, I'll leave that for the next upload. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to join the conversation, leave a comment down below. What do you think of Battlefield 6's maps? Are they too big? Are they too small? Is there a good dose of everything for you? Is it not really Battlefield? Let me know down below. Let's have a conversation, and I will see you in the next video.